a very special day today, YouTube. It's Star Wars' 40th birthday. If you know me at all, you'll know that I have a borderline obsession with Star Wars. I wanted to do a video for the 40th anniversary, which is today. So, since Star Wars means a lot to me, and I spend way too much time thinking about Star Wars, what better way to celebrate than to speculate relentlessly on The Last Jedi? I'm going to start that off with a little bit of discussion on Snoke. Even though I believe, honestly, that most of Snoke's revelations are probably going to happen in Episode 9, but I'm still going to talk about Snoke because everyone wants to talk about Snoke and Rey. So I'm going to talk about both those two things. So, without further ado, let's get into it. First, I'd like to talk about the old expanded universe, now known as Star Wars Legends. Because the more I read the new canon, the more I realize that they are really sort of almost taking things from the old expanded universe and sort of compounding it into various things as sort of inspiration. And I think the fact that they named it Legends is really telling because, you know, there's an echo of truth to Legends, as so they say. So part of me likes to believe that the old expanded universe is actually in-universe lore written by Star Wars characters who got things wrong. So with that being said, I think it's interesting to kind of look at that and the old expanded universe to kind of figure out where they might be going with the character of Snoke. So the first image I have here is of the Sun Crusher, which was a super weapon more powerful than the Death Star that could destroy whole systems, same as Starkiller Base in The Force Awakens. Next we have Kylo Ren, or Ben Solo. What's interesting about him is he really feels like two characters compounded, and that's primarily Jason Solo from the expanded universe with Ben Skywalker's name. As for Rey, and we're going to put who her parents are aside for now, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. She feels like two other characters compounded, in this case primarily Jaina Solo with the younger age of Anakin Solo. I think it's interesting that, you know, they basically took these four characters from the expanded universe and kind of took inspiration from them and simplified them down into the two characters we have of Kylo Ren. And that brings us to Supreme Leader Snoke. So who do you think we can look for inspiration in the expanded universe for him? And I do think there is a direct correlation with something in the expanded universe to Snoke. So let us find out who I think that Snoke is taking a little bit of inspiration. Yes, I think Snoke is going to be sort of the canon equivalent of the Yuzong Vong. The books right now are heavily hinting at a unknown evil force greater than the Empire, more evil than the Empire off in the unknown regions, which is the place that the Imperial Remnant escaped to after the Battle of Jakku. So to me, it seems logical that they stumbled upon Snoke while they were out in the unknown regions, and somehow he became their leader. You know, then when they mixed with the New Republic separatists, years later, they formed the First Order that, you know, controls planets and is what it is in The Force Awakens. We know that there is a threat because they've mentioned it quite a few times. One of the reasons that Grand Admiral Thrawn joined with the Empire was because he felt that there was a greater threat. In the old canon, the greater threat was the Yuzong Vong. I find it very unlikely that they are going to be coming into this new canon. So some people love them, some people don't like them, but I think that Snoke could be a representation of that greater evil. Assuming this is the case, I'm kind of wondering what his motivations are going to be. The Emperor, he wanted to, you know, subjugate everyone, and he also wanted to find out what something in the unknown regions was. He felt a force, he felt something evil, and one of his goals was to find that and to chart the path to the unknown regions. That's the path that the Imperial Remnant took, was, you know, the one that Emperor Palpatine had helped create. So what are Snoke's motivations? Is he simply motivated to subjugate the galaxy? Is that all he wants to do? If he is something bigger and more evil than the Empire,
Part of me wonders if he's just playing the First Order. Maybe he wants to pit the Resistance, the New Republic, and the First Order against each other, so they all destroy each other, so he can come in with something even more evil. And I have kind of a theory that maybe, I don't know if it's going to be the Yuzak Vong, but maybe he has some other kind of evil force aside from the First Order, and that we'll see that in Episode 9, and that maybe we could even see like the Resistance and the First Order have to team up to battle whatever it is that Snoke has in store for the galaxy in Episode 9. That being said, I don't think Snoke has any other connection to any previous episodes. I think he is simply a great evil in the unknown regions. The books have been referencing a great evil. The only other thing I can think of is that they are planning to bring on the Yuzong Vong later into the new canon, completely separate, in which case then maybe the evil is not Snoke. But since a lot of people feel that's really unlikely, myself included, it leads me to believe that they're actually speaking of Snoke there. So that's who I think Snoke is. That's what I think his role is going to be. And yeah.
Now that we've tackled Supreme Leader Snoke, I guess we should move on to Rey.
So the two biggest theories on Rey's parents are the Kenobi theory and the Skywalker theory. Both I think have some serious flaws. The Kenobi theory just seems a little bit too out there for a general audience to get, and goes against Daisy Ridley's comments that she thought it was obvious who Rey's parents are. And yeah, I get that they both have British accents, and they didn't ask Rey to change hers, but Finn changed his to an American accent, so some see that as a connection, but I don't think that's something that Daisy herself would have seen as an obvious connection to Obi-Wan. And it just seems like a lot to explain to an audience. The theory basically is that Obi-Wan, we know, had a romantic entanglement with the Duchess of Mandalore, Satine, back in sort of the prequel era. This was, gone over in the Clone Wars television show. They had a kid, that kid got married or found a partner or something happened, and they had a kid, and that kid was Rey. So Obi-Wan would be Rey's grandfather, and Duchess Satine would be Rey's grandmother. But as I said, I think it's just too out there. It'd be too much to explain to an audience, and then they would have to explain everything with her parents, and then they'd have to explain everything with Obi-Wan and Duchess Satine, and it just seems way too convoluted to be something that I think they would do. The Skywalker theory, of course, is that, Luke and maybe some Mara Jade-inspired character had Rey sometime after the Return of the Jedi. The problem with this, I think, is it just does not seem to be in Luke's character from what we know of his actions after the Return of the Jedi. After the Battle of Endor, his really only action he took was to rescue a sapling from a Jedi force tree that used to be in the Great Temple. And it's implied that he took this tree and was going to use it to set up and be part of his own Jedi Temple. He did not take part in the New Republic, did not take part in the Battle of Jakku or any of the battles before that. He essentially checked out of the struggles of the galaxy and solely devoted himself to being a Jedi. And there's nothing that we know that indicates that he had any interest in finding a wife and having kids. It sounds like he was solely dedicated to training new Jedi. So to me, it seems a little bit unlikely that they are blood relatives. I still think it's possible, but the way that Daisy and Mark Hamill have been starting to joke about it so openly, it almost makes me think that they would not be doing that if she actually was related, unless it was kind of like a red herring. These next two I find a little bit more likely, and they are the Force theory, which implies that Rey is like another virgin birth, convergence of the Force, or whatever you want to call it. So the Force and a mother were responsible for Rey. She's either just simply another chosen one, or some have suggested even maybe a reincarnation of Anakin. This seems a little bit too connected to some of the things that people didn't like with the prequel series, so that's the reason I doubt this first one a little bit. I still think it's possible. The next theory is the one I find the most likely. That's the nobody theory. This doesn't mean she doesn't have any parents, just that her parents aren't anyone important to the grand scheme of things, other than the fact they had Rey. They were probably just scavengers, they were hungry, they were desperate, they wanted after Jakku, so maybe they sold Rey, or abandoned her, or whatever, said they were going to come back, but never actually did. The thing with this is I do think that Lucasfilm would consider going this route, because as much as the fanboy in me wants Rey to be connected directly by blood to the Skywalkers, I think her being sort of quote-unquote the nobody almost makes her a better character. Because part of the empowerment of the character is the fact that, she's just a random girl who achieved greatness, and that anyone can achieve greatness. By putting sort of an asterisk on that, where it's like, you can achieve greatness if your dad's someone famous and powerful, I think it a little bit diminishes the character of Rey a little bit. I don't think by much, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I could see Lucasfilm thinking about this and wanting to go that route. However, I completely believe that Rey will be known as Rey Skywalker by the end of The Last Jedi. This is the Skywalker saga, and I think she will carry on that tradition regardless. She will be a Skywalker, even if it's by being adopted, if she's a nobody, or adopted if she's another virgin birth, or if she's reincarnated as Anakin Skywalker, or if she's even a blood relative. She's going to be Rey Skywalker. She's going to see Luke as her father, and Luke's going to see her as his daughter, sort of redefining what family is. But I think there's going to be a moment, assuming she's not a blood relative, assuming she's the nobody. She doesn't have a last name. She doesn't know what her last name is. Maybe she discovered that her parents were, just people who abandoned her. She's going to want to adopt a name that means something to her, and her relationship with Luke is going to prompt her to take up that mantle. Maybe there's even going to be a "who are you" moment, and then she's going to pull out her lightsaber like, "I'm Rey Skywalker." And there'll be a cool duel, but just because she's Rey Skywalker doesn't mean she's blood related. It's only one of 3 options. Anyway, that's what I think of Rey.
And that's it. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm crazy? Can you not wait to link this video back to me and laugh at me later after I'm proven completely wrong? Or maybe the opposite will happen. Maybe I'll be completely right. Anyway, let me know in the comments. Tell me what you think of this video. Do you have your own Snoke and Rey theories you want to talk about? Be sure to write them down below. Thank you once again for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. And may the Force be with you.